What's up guys, this is Rajat Gupta, welcome to my channel. So as promised in my previous videos, I actually promised you to show you the setup and some detailed information about the gimbal, the Zhiyun Smooth Q 3-axis stabilizer that I got. That was an unboxing video, and today I'm going to actually show you how to set up your gimbal so that you can actually make use of that, because I know it was really hard for me to actually set up for the first time when I didn't know anything about the gimbal. So I'm gonna show you how you can actually set up your gimbal for the first time, and different video comparison before and after using the gimbal, and also some other things like what I like about the gimbal, what I don't like about the gimbal, because I've been using it for like 3 weeks now. I'm also gonna tell you about different modes of the gimbals, like the pan following, the locking, the following mode, and some additional modes that we have in the gimbal. So just stay tuned for this video. I think it's gonna be a long video, but I hope it's gonna be worth every second. So I have my gimbal with me now. Let's get familiarized with some basic buttons on the gimbal, and also these 3 axes, because it's a 3-axis stabilizer. So let's get started. First of all, this one is actually called tilt axis, because this one is actually responsible for tilting off the gimbal like that. For your smartphone, when your smartphone is mounted on the gimbal, it will be able to tilt like that. Next one is the roll axis. This one is called the roll axis because if your phone is actually mounted on the gimbal, it can roll like that on this axis. Now the last one is actually called the pan axis, and this is the one, it's called the pan axis because if your phone is actually mounted on the gimbal, it can pan in this motion. So these 3 are the axes that our gimbal supports. Now let's get familiarized with the buttons on the gimbal. So as you can see, this one is a power button. You'll have to press it for like few seconds and you will actually see this yellow light flashing and the gimbal will turn on. Since nothing is actually mounted on the gimbal, it's actually out of balance, and you can see this is the blue light that's flashing on the gimbal, and as you can see, it's actually flashing 4 times in a row continuously. That means the battery level on the gimbal is actually between 75% to 100% of the level. When it flashes 3 times, it's between 50 to 75. When it flashes 2 times, it's between 25 to 50, and when it flashes once, that means the battery is actually between 0 and 25. The last time I actually charged the gimbal was like 3 weeks back, when I actually unboxed the gimbal and charged for the first time, and I've been using it continuously for some time, and as you can see, the battery is really good. It's still on the 4th level. Next we have this wide and tele zoom button. This will actually work when you have connected your gimbal to your smartphone with the gimbal app, and using this button you can actually zoom or zoom out of your smartphone when it's actually mounted on the gimbal. Next one is actually called the mode button, and this will actually help us to cycle through different modes in the gimbal. And then we have the joystick, which will be used to actually tilt the gimbal on different axes, maybe on the roll axis, maybe on the tilt axis, in different modes. Now we'll try to mount our phone, and I'll walk you through how you can actually set it up for the first time. So first of all, you'll have to make sure that the gimbal is actually aligned, and before that, let's see. So this one, these are all the like labels on the mount. So make sure that this label is actually facing down to the ground and not upwards, because last time I might have flipped the gimbal, flipped the case to upside, but if you mount like that, it's not going to be aligned properly. And also the other thing to note is that, like, Smooth Q, this should be also properly vertically oriented, aligned, and also this one. So as you can see, Zhiyun is actually, if I bring closer, you can see that Zhiyun is actually inverted, so it should not be the case. Before mounting your phone, just make sure these are like properly alphabetically aligned and oriented. So how you can do that, you can actually make use of this dial button, which is called the flip button. So we'll have to flip this case, so we'll have to open this flip dial button, roll it to unlock it, and then flip it on the other side. And then you can tighten it. So now, as you can see, these labels are all on the bottom side, and the next thing to ensure is that Smooth Q is properly aligned, and Zhiyun is actually properly aligned too. So I'm ready to mount my phone. Let's mount the phone. So I got a Samsung S8 Plus, as you have seen in my previous videos, and I'm gonna expand this case like that and put my phone in the case, and just try to slide it as long as inside as you can go, because otherwise you'll have to push it later on, and then slide it to reach to the case on the other side. and as you can see, it's actually out of balance. This is perfectly fine because actually the weight balance on the gimbal is actually we have not actually configured that, so we're gonna do it right now. You might be able to, if you turn on the gimbal, you might be able to perfectly balance, but in that case your gimbal would be consuming more battery, so which is not advisable. So let's try to get a perfect sweet spot to actually balance this phone. So what you need to do, you need to actually loosen up this screw on your rolling axis, and to loosen it, just screw it inwards, and then take out your lever like outside, and then try to tighten it. You will have to perfectly find a spot so that phone is actually kind of horizontally balanced, which is currently the case. If I try to turn on the gimbal, it should be working perfectly fine. Let's try out. As you can see, the gimbal is actually properly balanced and is working perfectly fine. There's one more thing that I wanted to tell you while you mount your phone. The casing should be properly balanced. As you can see, it's more extended on the bottom as compared to the top. It doesn't matter much, but if you find like a perfect balance, it will be easier on the gimbal, and it will save a lot of battery. But I think I'm okay for this video. I'm just gonna leave it like that, and let's turn on the gimbal, and it's perfectly working fine. So let's move on to the modes. When you turn on the gimbal, it actually by default enters into the pan following mode, and what it means, it will move on the pan axis, which we discussed earlier. When you move your gimbal to the left, the phone will also pan to the left. When you move to the right, the phone will continue moving to the right. So it's panning on your pan axis. But it won't work, it will be locked on your tilt axis. As you can see, it's not working on the tilt axis. This is where the joystick comes into action. You can actually move your phone on the tilt axis by moving your joystick up and down. So as you can see, when I move my joystick down, the phone is actually moving upwards. When I move the joystick upward, the phone is actually moving downwards. The next mode is called the locking mode, and you can actually enter that by clicking the mode button once. So the gimbal is actually in locking mode. Now it means the phone is locked into this position, and it will not be panned, or it will not be tilted, or by using any joystick button on this mode. However, if you use your joystick in this mode, you can actually make use of the panning feature. But by default, if you move your gimbal to the left or right or up and down, the phone will be locked in this position. This is why it's called locking mode. And to come out of this mode, you can actually click mode button once again. So as you can see, the phone is actually back into the pan following mode. Just to summarize again, by default, when you turn on the gimbal, it will be in the pan following mode, and when you click on the mode button once, it goes into the locking mode, and when you click on the mode button once again, it comes out of the locking mode back to the pan following mode. The third mode is actually called the following mode, and by entering that is actually you'll have to press the mode button twice. So whether you are currently into the pan following mode or into the locking mode, just press this button twice and you'll enter into the following mode. So now the phone is actually into the following mode. What it means, it will pan on this axis like it did on the pan following mode, and also it will tilt on the tilt axis like that. But when you use your joystick, you can also make use of the roll feature. The phone is now actually rolling on the roll axis like that. And to come out of this mode, you'll have to again press the mode button twice, and it will go back into the mode in which it came from. So since I came from the pan following mode, it's back to the pan mode. So out of these three modes, if you ask me like which mode I use the more, I think it's going to be the pan following mode, because I don't use the rolling feature a lot, and the panning, this gives me ability to pan on the panning axis, and the ability to actually use the joystick to tilt the phone onto the tilt axis. There are two additional modes into the gimbal, and the first one is called the selfie mode, and which is like when you click this mode button 3 times, the phone will actually turn into the selfie mode, and you can actually take your selfie, or just make use of your rear camera onto the phone like that into this mode, and it will continue following your pan following, or any other mode, even in selfie mode. If you press the mode button 3 times again, it will come back to the normal mode. And now the last mode in this gimbal is actually standby mode, and for that you'll have to keep pressing the mode button until it loosens up. And the gimbal is actually started. It's actually flashing, as you can see, it's turned on. But however, the motors on this gimbal are put on the standby. So this means you can actually make some quick changes into your gimbal, adjust some settings or whatever onto the motors without actually damaging the motors. Otherwise, like if you try to flick this phone vertically, or make some other changes into the motors while the gimbal is turned on, you might damage the motors. So that is not advisable. So either turn off your gimbal or put it into the standby mode. So to come back from this standby mode, you'll have to keep pressing the mode button, and you can see it came back to the power on mode. So I actually forgot to tell you, like when you have already mounted your phone for once and already have balanced your phone like in this direction horizontally, you don't need to rebalance the phone. When you take out the phone from the gimbal and put it back again, it will be always balanced. However, if you change the orientation from horizontal to vertical, or make some other changes, in that case you might have to rebalance the phone. But you don't have to rebalance the phone again and again when it's already balanced into this same position, and you are operating the phone into the same position. And now one cool feature. So what if you actually want to go really down and record some video or close to the ground level? The motor will actually come really close to the ground, and the phone is actually not too close to the ground, right? How will you achieve this situation? So let me tell you a quick hack to do that. What you need to do, instead of going like that and just going really low on the ground and trying to record the video, you can actually go like that, and again one more time, and then try to go really low on the ground and try to record the video. As you can see, the motor is not there between the phone and the ground, so that means you can go really low in this case. Isn't it cool, guys? And now let me share what my personal opinion about this gimbal is, what I like and what I don't like. So I've been using this gimbal for 3 weeks, and what I like about this gimbal is the battery. The battery is really good. As you can see, it's still between 75 and 100%, and I charged it 3 weeks back. It's really good. The quality, the performance of the gimbal is actually really good. Although it's little complex initially to understand how it works, but once you get the grasp of the working of the gimbal, the gimbal actually works absolutely fine. And I'll share some videos, some comparison, and for you to decide how efficiently this gimbal actually performs. And what I don't like about this gimbal is actually the weight. For sure, I'll have to discuss that in this video. Although the gimbal is 1 pound in weight, but when I add my phone onto the gimbal, it's really heavy, and I don't want to hold that heavy weight on throughout the day. The second thing I don't like about this gimbal is actually there's no rubber grip on the gimbal. It's all plastic. I feel I might drop it someday. There's no rubber grip or not even a strap to tie around my wrist. And now time to compare some videos that I recorded onto this gimbal with and without the gimbal. I hope you liked this video and it was useful for you. Give me a like and subscribe to my channel because I'll be sharing more videos on the same lines. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next video.